Get ready for a countdown of 17 discontinued cars that enthusiasts still can't stop talking about. Each one left a mark, whether through raw performance, iconic design, or the feeling you just can't find in today's machines. For every car, we'll explore why it was discontinued, what made it unforgettable, and how it stacks up against what's on the road now. With rich visuals and tight storytelling, this is more than a list. It's a tribute to the legends we want back. Number 1. Pontiac G8. It came out of nowhere and hit like a hammer. The Pontiac G8 wasn't just another sedan, it was a full-size muscle car in a suit. Under its hood, a 6.0-liter V8 in the GT trim, ready to throw down with 361 horsepower, rear-wheel drive, aggressive looks, and room for 5. It combined the power of a Camaro with the elegance of an executive sedan. But then, just as fast as it showed up, it was gone. The G8 was killed off not because it failed, but because Pontiac itself went down with the ship. In 2009, General Motors declared bankruptcy and axed Pontiac altogether. Timing couldn't have been worse. The G8 had just started to turn heads and win fans. Its SS variant was on the horizon, but the brand died before it could grow. What makes the G8 so missed today is how few cars deliver that same mix of performance and practicality. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't showy, but it could outrun most sports sedans and haul the kids doing it. Today we've got plenty of fast SUVs, sure, but they don't handle like this. And most modern sedans? They're front-wheel drive, soft and lifeless. None growl like the G8 GT. Number 2. Mazda RX-7. There's never been another car like the RX-7. Mazda took a different approach right from the beginning. Lightweight rear-wheel drive and powered by a high-revving rotary engine that sounded more like a chainsaw than a traditional car. It didn't purr, it screamed. The third-generation RX-7 especially became a cult icon. With its smooth curves, pop-up headlights, and near-perfect balance, it handled like a dream. This was a driver's car, no question about it. So why did it disappear? Mazda ultimately pulled the plug, pressured by stricter emission standards, higher insurance premiums, and lingering doubts about the rotary engine's dependability. The RX-8 tried to carry the torch, but it never really caught the same fire. What's heartbreaking is that nothing since has truly replaced it. Yes, there are quick coupes today, but nothing with the raw sensation of the RX-7. That rotary buzz at 9,000 RPM is unforgettable. Not even today's Mazdas capture the spirit this car once had. Number 3. Toyota MR2. The MR2 was a rebel, small, mid-engined, and affordable. It delivered the kind of driving thrill typically found in exotic cars, but in an affordable, compact form. You could park it anywhere, blast through corners like a go-kart, and still hit the gas station without flinching. Over its 3 generations, the MR2 evolved, from the wedge-shaped 80s original to the turbocharged 90s beast, and finally to the sleek Roadster of the early 2000s. It never tried to be the fastest, just the most fun. Eventually, the market turned on small sports cars. Buyers wanted crossovers, not roadsters. Sales dropped, and in 2007, the MR2 quietly disappeared from showrooms. But that doesn't mean people stopped caring. Enthusiasts still hunt for clean MR2s. They miss the feedback, the snap oversteer, the old-school feel that most cars today have forgotten. Modern Miatas and GR86s are fun, no doubt, but they aren't mid-engined. They don't rotate like the MR2 could. That unique layout is what made it special. Number 4. Saab 9-3. The Saab 9-3 was quirky in the best possible way. Born in Sweden but raised under GM, it was the car for people who didn't want the same old German luxury sedan. It was turbocharged, smart, and just left of center enough to stand out. Its design was clean and understated, with just the right amount of Scandinavian cool. The ignition? Mounted between the seats. The turbocharged engines? Torquey and responsive. And it had hatchback practicality long before that became trendy again. Unfortunately, mismanagement under GM's ownership slowly bled the brand dry. Development slowed, innovation stopped, and in 2011, Saab filed for bankruptcy. The 9-3 was the last real glimpse of what the company could have been. What people miss about it today is how different it felt. It didn't chase trends. It didn't try to copy BMW. It stood apart from the crowd, and that's exactly what made it special. Modern sedans may be quieter and flashier, but most are forgettable. The 9-3 had soul. Number 5. Ford Crown Victoria. It was never about flash. The Ford Crown Victoria didn't have a turbocharger or fancy infotainment, but it owned the streets, and everyone respected it. Whether it was a police cruiser, a yellow cab, or your granddad's land yacht, the Crown Vic was everywhere. For decades, it was a symbol of American toughness. Built on a body-on-frame chassis with a V8 engine and rear-wheel drive, it was the last of its kind. You could jump a curb, take a hit, or run it for 300,000 miles, and it kept going. No questions asked. But by the early 2010s, its time had finally run out. The platform was ancient, fuel economy was falling behind, and in a world shifting toward crossovers and hybrids, a body-on-frame sedan just didn't make sense on the balance sheet. Ford officially ended production in 2011, quietly closing the curtain on an icon.
Last truck rolled off the production line at the Ford plant.
The plant has been in operation for nearly 86 years. This is the first truck ever made there. This has been an emotional day for workers.
Still, ask any police officer or taxi driver, and they'll tell you nothing drives quite like a Crown Vic. Soft suspension, bulletproof mechanics, and that unmistakable float on the highway. Today's electric cars may be cleaner, but none can hop a sidewalk and keep on rolling like this thing could. Number 6. Honda S2000. Then there's the S2000, Honda's love letter to driving. From its razor-sharp steering to the sky-high 9,000 RPM redline, everything about it was made to thrill. No turbo, no gimmicks, just raw, naturally aspirated chaos. Launched in 1999 to celebrate Honda's 50th anniversary, the S2000 packed a 2.0-liter four-cylinder that made over 100 horsepower per liter, unheard of for a production engine at the time. Pair that with a 6-speed manual and near-perfect 50-50 weight distribution, and you had one of the most balanced roadsters ever built. But the timing was rough. After the 2008 recession, buyers started prioritizing practicality over fun. Sports car sales dropped, and Honda pulled the plug in 2009. Just like that, the S2000 was gone. What it left behind, though, was a legacy. Enthusiasts still chase clean examples. Track junkies praise its handling. And anyone who's ever driven one will tell you even the new Miata doesn't scream the same way. There's a rawness in that VTEC surge that just doesn't exist anymore. Number 7. Porsche 928. Now, here's a Porsche that didn't follow the script. The 928 dared to be different. Launched in the late 70s, it was a front-engine V8-powered Grand Tourer, a complete departure from the rear-engine 911. Porsche had ambitious plans for the 928. They truly thought it had the potential to take the 911's place. It was more comfortable, more refined, and easier to drive long distances. With its pop-up headlights, futuristic dash, and smooth lines, it looked like it came from another planet. But in the end, it never truly won over purists. The 928 was too heavy for track work, too pricey for the masses, and too strange for some. Porsche stuck with it for nearly 2 decades, but it never outsold the 911. In 1995, the model was discontinued. Today, though, it's a different story. Classic car lovers are circling back. People are realizing just how ahead of its time the 928 was. The V8 growl, the long-distance comfort, and the bold styling, it's a total package modern Grand Tourers rarely match. The Taycan may be fast, but it lacks the mechanical soul of this V8 beast. Number 8. Nissan 240 SX. Before drifting hit mainstream, before Fast and Furious made it a lifestyle, there was the Nissan 240 SX. With rear-wheel drive, a lightweight frame, and undeniable style, it quickly became an icon in tuner culture. In the US, it launched with a 2.4-liter inline-4. Not exactly a powerhouse, but its balanced chassis and predictable handling made it perfect for sideways action. It was budget-friendly, easy to modify, and tough enough to handle serious punishment. That made it the go-to choice for young enthusiasts looking to build a track car or just kick the tail out in an empty parking lot. But Nissan didn't see the aftermarket boom coming. Sales were modest at best, high insurance premiums didn't help, and by 1998, they pulled the plug on US production. Ironically, just as it was discontinued, its popularity skyrocketed thanks to the growing drift scene and imported Japanese versions with turbocharged engines. Even today, the 240SX holds a special place. Modern cars like the BRZ and GR86 try to capture that same vibe, but they don't hit quite as hard. The 240SX has street cred baked in. Its pop-up headlights, raw feel, and tuner DNA make it something truly special. Before we jump into the next discontinued legend, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss stories about the cars that mattered, the ones that still make us feel something. Number 9. Acura Integra Type R. Ask any Honda fan about the peak of front-wheel drive performance, and one name always comes up: the Acura Integra Type R. It didn't just perform, it reshaped expectations for what a front-wheel drive car could be. This wasn't just a sportier Integra with a body kit. Acura stripped it down, stiffened the chassis, upgraded the suspension, and dropped in a hand-built, high-revving 1.8-liter VTEC engine that loved to scream all the way to 8,400 RPM. It made 195 horsepower in an era where most four-cylinders struggled to hit 150. But more than numbers, it was about feel, razor-sharp turn-in, a short-throw shifter, and balance that gave rear-wheel drive cars a run for their money. So why did it disappear? The market shifted. Crossovers and automatics took over. Acura couldn't justify the steep production costs of such a meticulously engineered car, especially when it didn't resonate with mainstream buyers. And just like that, it vanished. What we're left with today is a unicorn. The Type R was rare even when it was new. Now, it's a collector's dream. Sure, the new Integra Type S is quick, no doubt, but it's heavier, more polished, and lacks that raw edge. Nothing front-wheel drive handles quite like the original Type R. It was pure analog brilliance in an increasingly digital world. Number 10, Chevrolet SS Holden Commodore. On the outside, it looked like your neighbor's rental sedan. But under the skin, the Chevrolet SS was something else entirely. A 6.2-liter V8, rear-wheel drive, magnetic ride suspension, and the option for a manual transmission, all baked into a sleeper body. It wasn't built in Detroit. It came straight from Australia, where it was sold as the Holden Commodore. Chevrolet rebadged it for the US market, but barely promoted it. You almost never saw it in commercials or magazines. And despite being one of the most fun-to-drive sedans on the road, most people didn't even know it existed. That's what killed it. Lack of awareness. Chevrolet stopped importing the SS in 2017, just as Holden wound down production in Australia. It wasn't the car's fault. It was the marketing. It never had a chance to grow an audience. Today, it's remembered as the ultimate sleeper, a muscle car in a business suit. It could haul your family and roast the tires on command. Even modern M-Series sedans feel overly polished compared to this Aussie bruiser. It's what modern muscle sedans should feel like: powerful, subtle, and brutally effective. Number 11, Dodge Magnum. At first glance, the Dodge Magnum looked like something out of a dystopian cop movie. Long, low, wide, and aggressive. It looked like a wagon but carried itself like a street fighter, and it had the muscle to match. While the Magnum came in several trims, the one that left a lasting impression was the SRT-8, powered by a 6.1-liter Hemi V8. It had 425 horsepower, rear-wheel drive, and a presence that made even SUVs step aside. It was a wagon, but it looked like it could bench press a Charger. So why was it discontinued? Americans fell out of love with wagons. SUVs became the new norm, and Chrysler, which had just merged with Fiat, didn't see a future in something that looked like a muscle car but hauled like a minivan. Production of the Magnum came to an end in 2008. What's left is a car that feels ahead of its time. Today, people beg for performance wagons, but few exist in the US. Meanwhile, the Magnum did it 15 years ago. SUVs wish they looked this mean and drove this raw. Number 12, Honda Fit. It was small, it was boxy, and somehow it fit everything. The Honda Fit wasn't flashy, but it was brilliant. This subcompact hatchback squeezed out every ounce of space from its modest footprint. Thanks to Honda's clever magic seats, you could fold the rear bench multiple ways, flat for cargo, flipped for tall items, or even recline to lounge. It felt like a compact Swiss Army knife. And it wasn't just practical, it was fun. The Fit was light, nimble, and surprisingly sharp in the corners. Paired with a manual, it turned into a fun, fuel-efficient commuter that kept you grinning on every drive. It was everything a city car should be: easy to park, efficient, and cleverly designed. But in the US, sales started to slump. Buyers were flocking to subcompact crossovers like the HR-V, and automakers followed the money. Though it stayed popular overseas, Honda quietly dropped the Fit from its US lineup after 2020. Now, it's sorely missed. Crossovers may offer height, but they don't have the same space efficiency or nimble character. A crossover can't park like this, and good luck finding one with a stick shift. Number 13, Honda CRX. 2 seats, no frills, just you, the road, and a grin you couldn't wipe off your face. That was the Honda CRX. Built in the 1980s and early 90s, it was a featherweight hatchback that punched way above its class. At barely over 1,800 pounds, it didn't need much horsepower to feel quick. It wasn't about going fast in a straight line, it was about connection. With a manual transmission and sharp steering, it felt alive. But it wasn't just fun. The CRX was efficient. The HF trim pushed fuel economy into the 50-plus mpg range, long before hybrids were a thing. At a time when fuel prices were rising and performance cars were fading, the CRX managed to be both fast and frugal. So, why did Honda pull the plug? Changing safety standards were the final nail. New crash regulations made lightweight two-seaters harder to justify. At the same time, buyers were shifting toward larger, more practical cars. By 1991, the CRX was gone. Still, it's missed for everything it represented. It was affordable, honest, and pure. You felt every bump, heard every shift, and didn't need 400 horsepower to have fun. Today's hybrids might sip fuel like the CRX, but they don't have its spirit. No touchscreen, no drive modes, just driving. Number 14. Chevrolet K5 Blazer. Before the SUV craze took over suburbia, the Chevrolet K5 Blazer ruled the off-road world. It was bold, boxy, and built like a tank. Long before overlanding became a buzzword, this was the truck you took into the wild and trusted to get you home. The K5 had something modern SUVs just don't: character. It offered four-wheel drive, a high seating position, and most memorably, a removable roof. That meant you could cruise topless with a V8 soundtrack and mud on your tires. You can't do that in a crossover. The end came in the early 1990s, when GM shifted focus to the more suburban-friendly Tahoe. It was still a capable truck, but it lost that rugged, convertible charm. The K5 was simply too raw for the changing market. Today, collectors snap them up, restore them, and hit the trails once more. The K5 is proof that you don't need 10 screens and 15 sensors to have a great adventure. Crossovers might try to look tough, but the K5 Blazer was tough, and cool, and loud. Number 15. Jeep Wagoneer Classic Full Size. Back when most SUVs were still work trucks, the Jeep Wagoneer was out here serving style. It wasn't just about 4x4 performance, it was about rolling up to the lake house with class. And those iconic wood-grain side panels? Instant nostalgia. Introduced in the early 1960s, the Wagoneer remained in production for almost 3 decades. That's not a typo. It lasted because it nailed the formula: full-size comfort, true off-road ability, and luxury touches that felt ahead of their time. Leather seats, power everything, and a ride smoother than many sedans. But by the early 90s, the platform was showing its age. Fuel economy was rough, safety standards had changed, and Chrysler decided it was time to move on. The nameplate went dark until Jeep resurrected it decades later in a very different form. The new Wagoneer is high-tech and plush, but it doesn't have the retro soul of the classic. The original felt homegrown and grounded like a family heirloom on wheels. Today's luxury SUVs owe a huge debt to this legend. It proved long ago that comfort and capability can coexist. Number 16. Buick Grand National GNX. If Darth Vader had a garage, the Buick Grand National would be parked inside. All black, all attitude. And in the mid-80s, it could outrun nearly anything on the road. While other manufacturers were still recovering from the fuel crisis, Buick did something nobody expected. It built a turbocharged muscle car. The Grand National started as a performance trim on the Regal, but by the time the GNX rolled out in 1987, it was making headlines. Pushing 276 horsepower and hitting 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds, it was leaving Corvettes in the dust, all from behind the wheel of a Buick. It was brutal, no flashy colors, no chrome. All it needed was black paint, the hiss of a turbo, and a mean glare to steal the spotlight at every stoplight. It was the ultimate sleeper, and it scared the competition. So what killed it? Emissions rules were tightening. GM had no intention of letting Buick become the brand for performance. The GNX was a one-year-only send-off limited to just 547 units. After that, the magic was gone. Still, the Grand National left a legacy that outlived its production. Today, it's a collector's icon. Nothing since has looked so sinister while being so quick. No EV today, no matter how fast, matches the GNX's presence. It wasn't just about speed, it was about style and defiance. Number 17. Alfa Romeo Spider GTV. There's something about the Alfa Romeo Spider that just feels right. Maybe it's the design, a long hood, short rear, and those smooth, flowing curves. Or maybe it's just the feeling it gives you. Top down, sun out, engine singing. Your joy. First introduced in the 1960s, the Spider stayed in production for decades. Its cousin, the GTV Coupe, brought the same flair with a roof. Both were designed with passion and built for drivers who cared more about feeling the road than conquering it. But eventually, time caught up. The platform aged, emission standards tightened, and Alfa Romeo pulled out of the US market in the 1990s. The demand just wasn't strong enough to keep these soulful machines alive, especially in a world that was starting to favor efficiency over emotion. Still, fans never forgot. Because modern roadsters might be quicker, but they often feel cold and perfect. The Spider and GTV weren't about perfection, they were about connection. You didn't drive them so much as dance with them. That's the end of our list, 17 discontinued cars that still stir something deep in the hearts of drivers. So now it's your turn. Which one of these would you bring back to the streets? Drop your pick in the comments below. We're ready to argue about it. And if you're more into SUVs, make sure to check out our video on the 5 worst and 5 best SUVs to buy in 2025. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a ride. See you in the next video.